So, Paul, I want to talk a little bit more about the day-to-day operations of the store and what that was like. First of all, I understand and I read somewhere that you strongly encourage your store managers to attend the Homebrew Computer Club. Is that accurate? And why was that?
Yeah, the stores, obviously our customer was the hobbyist, and the Homebrew Computer Club being there, obviously the stores in San Francisco Bay Area, had access to homebrew and their meetings at Stanford Linear Accelerator, and so. This was a gathering of people that would, become customers to the store. So, a lot of the people that we saw at the homebrew meetings were coming into the store and showing up there and so forth. So it was a breeding ground, for customers, and so we would tell the other store people to, get more involved. With the hobby aspect. We really we're not dealing with your typical consumer. It was a specialty retailing operation that we were running. So you wanted to know, where your customers were and how to get to them. And a good analogy that I used to use back in the day was the stereo operations and the people that were into the music and Pacific Stereo was a big chain of stores in Northern California. That I would point to our dealers that this is where we're going with this. This is going to be personal computers are going to be so popular that we're going to be dealing with the consumer marketplace like these Pacific Stereo stores. And actually one of the people, the guy that was running, who founded Pacific Stereo and later sold it to CBS. I believe his name was Anderson, but at any rate, he was one of the people that I was talking to when I was out looking to raise money for the Byte shops. He and I actually, he flew his corporate jet to San Jose, and I got together with him, and we went around, to show him the Byte shop operation and make him familiar with what we were doing. He was one of the people that I was seeking to when basically our issue was we were running out of money to grow the operation, and so I had to get investment into it, and so I was looking everywhere that you could, venture capital and other people, other chains that were maybe interested in acquiring us and so forth. But to get back to your point on the actual stores and the operation, my role was principally to get together with these guys, that were the owners of the Byte shops, and try and give them the vision that I had, for when we started the operation, and obviously give them the big picture. When you're a visionary, you see things that other people don't necessarily see, and what we were in all of the Byte shop owners were embarking in an area where everything was new to us, and a lot of these guys had no idea about retailing and what the potential was. A lot of them, the potential was that they just had their small store, little business there, and the business was kind of a hobby for them. They were able to work at what they liked, and there's nothing better than that, for employment. So,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, once again, the association with the homebrew marketplace and those people, you got to know them and go there. But where we really want to go, in terms of revenue sales for your stores, we want to get to the consumer market, and as our products developed from kits to finished products, assembled and tested. The Apple II is a good example, of that we carried in the stores, and more and more of the manufacturers that were doing kits ultimately converted over to assembled units 100%. But in the early days, the operations that you talk about here in the stores were a back room assembling the kits into finished product for people that couldn't do the assembly work. So that was a big part of our business, and we looked for those kind of people, to help us out in the stores.
So you're telling me some of the computers, at least, or some of the stuff that you sold was kits, and people could either assemble them themselves, or for a fee, you guys would assemble those for them. Is that
Yeah,
right?
the manufacturers made tremendous profit when they sold things in kit form because there was no labor involved, and
Right.
literally they were able to make a lot of profit in kits. When they had to hire, and we were very close to the transition from going from kits into assembled units with the Mid Altair people. They were one of the companies that they were the people that were starting the personal computer thing from the beginning. Ed Roberts and the Altair 8800. But at the price point that he introduced, $349, it was just parts. It was no assembly, no labor involved in the cost of it. So, and he could produce a lot of kits. I mean, it didn't take a lot of time to throw a bunch of parts in a bag and mail it to somebody. And particularly, when as he was going from mail order into retail, they would get all these checks in the mail, and if somebody's written you a check and you've deposited it in your bank account, you want to fulfill that order. So the quickest you can get it out, and of course, for the manufacturers to provide an assembled and tested unit, that could take literally days and weeks to respond to an order and a payment that was made in advance. And there was a lot of advance payment stuff going on in the industry at the time. Commodore was doing the same kind of thing, with their products and so forth. So, it was important at the kit phase of computer retail for us to, in the stores, the store owners needed to have technicians and people that would moonlight from all the companies around there, and there were plenty of electronic manufacturers in California and the Bay Area and Los Angeles and so forth. So where we had the density of computer stores, there were always people that would want to hang out and participate. We had some pretty reputable guys. One of them was Steve Leninger, who was over at National, and Steve was moonlighting with Todd Anderson down there in the Santa Clara store at night. He was building computers for Todd, and he was the guy at National that was in charge of their microprocessor, the Scamp microprocessor
Yeah, yeah.
chips.
I was gonna ask you about Steve because I know he worked at one of your stores, and I just recently, like 2 weeks ago, got an interview with him where he talked about his days, including the time he spent working at at one of your stores. Um, did you actually have much interaction with Steve? You said he was at a different store, right?
Yeah, he was at a different store, but the interaction came later. Once again, it came from the business side. When I was out looking for investment uh, in the overall Byte operation, one of the people that I contacted, Charles Tandy, the Forbes magazine had come out with an article about Tandy, and he was on the cover. And I read the article about him, and he's really an interesting guy for what he had done with not only Tandy, but the Radio Shack operation, of course, was what I was focusing in on. And his business primarily in those days, the early days, were the CB radio business, and they were. And Charlie also did manufacturing. He wasn't just doing Radio Shack, but they were manufacturing products under their own label. Realistic is what they called it, and so I saw in the Tandy operation an opportunity there, for them to move into computers from CB radio, because that was sort of dying out, and computers were coming in. So it seemed to me a natural thing to get a hold of him and find out if he was interested in buying my operation, because if he were to purchase Byte Shop, he'd come off the ground running with 58 stores that I had at the time. And of course, Charlie was a pretty shrewd businessman. He actually got in the corporate jet and flew out to San Jose and walked to my stores. And one of the stores that he went into was the Byte Shop in Santa Clara. And he had the opportunity to meet Steve Leninger, the technician that was in there. And of course, Steve was the guy that he hired to design the TRS-80 for Tandy Corporation. So,
Right, right.
that's it
That's
was in
funny.
that time frame that Steve and I, were having discussions about things.
Do you remember any details about those discussions? I mean, were you discussing what Tandy had
Well,
asked about, or?
it actually, most of my interaction with Steve came later, after Byte Shop, when I was doing Exidy and the
Ah,
Sorcerer computer. Okay,
I see.
because Tandy had hired two people. Steve was the hardware person for them, and then he had somebody at the same level at Tandy that was in charge of their software, and so my interest, obviously, if I was going to clone the TRS-80 in the Sorcerer, the capabilities of it, and try and do upmanship with my computer. It was the hardware piece of it, and so he and I had many discussions, and of course we would run into each other at trade shows and things, and reminisce about our beginnings at Byte Shop, and
Hmm.
where we were going from there. But he did very well with Tandy, and I did very well with well all of the things I got involved with in Silicon Valley.
That's interesting. Okay. Um, so I guess I'm curious. You've talked about a lot of the things that you had in your store. When you had computers that you sold, you already talked about the magazines that you had in there in the big display of Byte magazines. What else did you sell? Did you actually sell software and books and obviously you sold peripherals, I would think. Um, what what exactly was the specific list of things that you sold in the store?
Well, the books were a big piece of what we did because obviously, you're educating the public here and magazines, printed material, anything that you could get related to, the products, that would help people understand, what they could do with a personal computer. Uh, that was important. So, a big portion of the store was dedicated to not just books and magazines, but also the supplies, because, floppy disks and paper tape and everybody was using teletypes to hook up to their personal computer, to their Altair, if they didn't have or they didn't have input and output on these computers like the Altair computer and actually we had we created our own machine called the Byte 8 and I within Byte Incorporated I had a manufacturing operation there so that our stores could get more profit margin for themselves and also profit margin for Byte Incorporated because we made a good margin in the manufacturing operation as well. But the products in the stores, supplies were a big piece of it, and the books and magazines. As a matter of fact, I've got a copy. Here's a Byte number 1 issue of the Byte magazine, which is what we, that's where we got the name Byte Shop. And I think we talked about that in an earlier segment. Uh,
Did you keep that from back then? Is that something you've kept all that time, or
oh
is that
yeah,
something you
yeah, it was.
reacquired?
No, it was actually the Virginia Peschke was the publisher of Byte magazine, and Carl Helmers was the editor of the magazine. So Carl was the guy that was putting all the content in, and Virginia was running the business. So, I wanted to develop a good relationship with them. So basically, we would buy all the Byte magazines we could get our hands on. We not only got the current issue that came out, but any older issues that they had. I would also buy those from Virginia, and then in the stores, what I would do is I actually took a processor technology display case that they gave to me. It was a really nice walnut display case, and I put the Byte magazines in there, all of the different issues that I had in there, and then I called Virginia up and I told her, I said, I think I'm going to send you a picture of myself and the in this Byte magazine display case that I have here, and I said, I call your magazine the jewels of the Byte Shop operation here, I think what you would like to do for your subscriptions and business is maybe to put a page in the magazine that shows how important your magazine is, and what kind of what people think of it and so forth. And she did that. And so I was seeing in later editions of the Byte magazine, the Byte shop being presented there. It wasn't costing me anything to do that. So, that was the kind of thing you did with your different suppliers and things. You tried to work angles where, we were kind of strapped for cash. Everybody in the business was, because there was so much demand out there that any way you could network with somebody to help their business and help yours at the same time, giving you exposure, you would do that. So uh, that's what we did with Byte.
So what was the vibe like in the bike shop? Was it busy? Did you have a lot of regulars who hung out all the time? You know, what were the decorations and the furniture like in there? I'm just curious what it was like inside the store.
Yeah, basically, when you walked into the Byte shop in Mountain View, you would the first thing you would run into would be the display cases where we had the books and magazines and supplies and things. That was a popular area. Kind of when you go into a supermarket today, they've got the end aisle products that are highlighted, sort of thing, and that's what I was picking up on, was trying to the things that people wanted, to have them right there for them, so they could, if they wanted to get in and get out, they could do that. And so in the front of the store there, the front room, you basically had those items, supplies and the books, and then what we did for the computers themselves is, we would stack the boxes, when they came in from the off the shipping dock, we would just stack them up in the store. It was a big open space, and then on the top of the box we would have the what was inside the boxes, and literally people could then just take a box over to the cash register, and out the door they go. The actual, I called it the demo room, was the back room in the store, and so you'd have to go through a door to go into this room, and then the room in there was more of everything was running in the demo room. So if you saw the kit out there and you were interested in this or that, you could go back in the demo room and get on one of the computers that was there. We had the computers all set up so that people could actually do hands-on with them, and that was probably the most popular area in the store.
I
But
bet.
there were some things that, for instance, in the front of the store there, that front room, we actually, in the windows, we had big windows at the Bike Shop Mountain View, looking out onto the street. And so I would set up a display there where people that were just driving down the road could look in and see. And that's where we had our Altair computer with the Krememco Dazzler card in there, running the kaleidoscope program and so forth. And once again, because that was an operational computer, I actually would have some of the customers would come in and they just go right over to that and sit down on the windowsill and start playing with with that computer. So we were trying to give everybody as much hands-on opportunity as we could, so to help them make their decision that handle this kind of thing, and they'd want to get involved with it. So they'd make their purchase for it. But and then the other room that we had in the space that we were leasing there was the office area, and that's where I was actually running the all of the Byte operation from the office area there. Um, Another thing that we had, which was just kind of a fun thing in the open area, just as a sort of an attention giver, I had gotten a Scientific Data Systems, an SDS 940 mainframe computer. It was a scientific computer. There's a company down in Los Angeles called SDS, Scientific Data Systems, that made the Sigma line of computers. And the 940 was actually a discrete transistor computer that was superseded the Sigma series. They got more larger and more powerful because aerospace was buying all of these kind of products, and so the 940, I found a surplus one available, so I ended up buying it to have this thing that was 6 feet high and about 4 feet wide, and sitting in the corner of the store, and had an Altair computer sitting on top of it, which was more powerful than the 940 that was below it, So I was
Yeah.
showing people how, the 940 was tens of thousands of dollars, and the Altair was, $499.
Even then, you could show the improvements in computer technology, from the older mainframes to the newer micros. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And I think
the other reason for that was that part of our customer base coming in, the people coming through the front door, a lot of them were people out of the magazine industry that were interested in what was going on here and wanted to write about these products and these stores and what was going on. So to be able to show them things like, there's a mainframe computer over there. A little personal computer is more powerful than, it would give them some thought for an article that they might go and then write about. So the once again, going back to our type of customer that came into the store, it was pretty varied. And even investment people, venture capital people would come in all the time, and they would ask questions about this company or that company that they were looking at making an investment in, or what have you. But and I just had this one little office space in the back, so quite often what I would do is, if I knew these people were coming, I would take them over to two doors away from me was Frankie, Johnny, and Luigi's Pizza Parlor, Italian restaurant, and I'd go over there and sit them down in a booth, and we'd have a lunch meeting and talk about this, and of course, the most significant event that ever happened for Byte shops was when Jack Wilson from Business Week came down for his little interview. We spent 3 hours over in Frankie and Johnny's, discussing what was going on, and then he ended up writing a really nice article, about personal computing in Business Week, and we got a lot of notoriety and out of that. I mean, like I say, it was probably the most significant event in the history of Byte Shop for us.
Paul, do you have that Business Week magazine where that was published?
Yeah, I do. I actually have a copy of that. It was July 12th, I believe, was the issue that I have. That's the one that has a picture of me, behind the counter in the Byte shop, and the statement under it, which says Terrell plans franchising in California, and that created all of this
Read
stir.
all the mail. all the mail
Yeah,
that you got. Yeah.
the post office coming in with mail bags and dumping them on the floor and saying,
Yeah.
"Well, you're the only bike shop, so this must be for you, and you're in California." So,
I bet that was
the
fun.
addresses on these letters are unbelievable because they don't know that you're at, you're on 1039 El Camino Real. So
So was
anyway, yeah.
um is there I was trying to find a link to the digital version of that particular magazine so I could include that in the show notes, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Um
Oh, really?
yeah, have you
You
haven't
know,
possibly scanned
the
that or anything?
I think in the earlier segment I gave you a wrong date. Um, it was the July 12th is the magazine that had article about the personal computer aspect of it, and the week before was the other one, and I think I had those mixed up when I talked to you last time. I think I gave you the July 6th or 7th, whatever 7 days less than 12 is. Actually,
Okay.
that's,
Okay.
well,
Well, I could not find a digital copy of it, so maybe we can get one tracked down so we can include a link
yeah,
for people.
I can send you what I have of it. I can take a picture and
Okay,
yeah,
great.
okay.
So was most of your clientele computer enthusiasts or um, early adopter business customers, or was it a mixture of both?
I would say that it was definitely the hobbyist, initially, and that we did see the transition, to uh, uh, productivity was the next thing to come along. Rather than full blown business computers. What was happening, and actually it was the advent of the Apple II and VisiCalc. VisiCalc was the application that really drove Apple II sales when that
Right,
company came out with the spreadsheet that would run on Altair or on Apple computers. There was a lot of demand for that, and of course a spreadsheet can be used in many different ways. It was what we called productivity software, um, and people would use it for business applications. But when I think of business applications, I think of general ledger and payroll and accounts receivable, accounts payable, standard business operations. And we did get to that point when we had the fully assembled and tested computers, and when we had more disk storage. One of the things early on was the storage capability and how big your programs could be and what they could execute on and it took until the hard disk drives came into being created or invented and available for sale. Shugart, the guys that were in the floppy disk business ended up doing the first hard disks as well. So it was Alan Shugart was the founder of Shugart, and then he eventually sold Shugart to Xerox and went off and started another company and he did Seagate, and then he did his hard disk, and Alan was one of the people that would come by our store. He lived over in Santa Cruz, and so he'd come over the mountain and see what was going on in the valley, or if he was over for a meeting, we would see him show up. So, but it was what the capacity of the computer would really drive the audience, and so and the creation of the software. So if you could come into a Byte shop and for a few $1,000s put together a computer system with with the input and output terminal, the storage capacity of hard drives, and then the software being able to run a general ledger program and so forth. That was going to drive the business part of it, and that was just coming into being as I was exiting the Byte shop operation. We were starting to have manufacturers of bigger computer systems that could run these kinds of programs and bring them to the price level that the Byte shops were at. We were literally trying to stay in the low end of the marketplace in terms of cost or price to the consumer or to the customer. And so, we were very focused on staying away from mini computers and mainframe was not our business. And our business was in the microcomputers and the microprocessors and the products and manufacture that were manufactured for that. But we did have companies like, for instance, Data General was one of the companies that decided that they were going to get into the micro marketplace from the mini computers. They were doing Data General Nova mini computers. Digital Equipment Corporation, DEC, was doing mini computers, and everybody was looking at the personal computer area and trying to figure out how they could get hardware and their pricing to the level that it could be sold to consumers. And not all of the manufacturers were interested in doing that, but there were some. And of course, with the notoriety that we had from at Byte Shop through media and so forth, we would get calls from all of these guys. Ed DeCastro from Data General called me when he came up with the Eclipse computer, and he was targeting that to be cheaper than Digital Equipment. His competitors' smallest mini computer was the PDP-8, and he was able to achieve that. And so he felt that he had a product that he could sell to Byte Incorporated for their Byte shops. And when we did a business with him, when we gave him a purchase order and he started shipping product to us, that was going to drive the customer base to change to business people coming in to purchase these machines and the software that ran on them, for their applications.
Hmm. I am curious, and we'll explore that a little more, what you were just talking about, but did you ever have any celebrities come into the store?
Any which?
Celebrities?
Celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, where I first ran into the celebrities were at the computer shows.
Okay.
Jim Warren was doing the computer fair up in San Francisco, and and I knew Jim from the Homebrew Club, as well as Jim was publishing stuff, and we were selling his things in our store. But then he decided that he wanted to get into show business, and so for personal computers, and there wasn't a lot of that going on. The shows. The big shows were the National Computer Conference, the NCC, and Comdex, and those were shows that were aimed at the overall industry. But Jim wanted to put local shows on in San Francisco, and so he did the computer fairs, and that's where Apple introduced the Apple II in 1976 there in Brooks Hall at the at Jim's computer fair show. And one of the celebrities uh, that I met at the show, and then he became a customer of Byte Shops. It was uh, he was the he did that the Good Morning Vietnam. You remember that one?
Robin Williams?
Good Morning Vietnam, the movie.
Yeah, Robin Williams? Ro
Yeah.
Robin
Robin Williams.
Williams.
Yeah,
Okay.
Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams was a big fan of the personal computers, and
Oh, wow. I didn't know
and
that.
he ran into him at the stores. I talked to him at the store. Obviously, I recognized him, and then when he came by our booth, we talked and so forth about stores and what was going on. But yeah, Robin, and then like I said, would visit the bike shops that were closer to where he lived. But yeah, he was one. The other that you would put in celebrity category was the music guys. You know that music synthesis was one of the
Hmm.
applications that was embracing the personal computers and what they could do with that. And so there were people, and, you know, and notable names. I don't recall them all. I was never a music buff, but these guys were, you know, big names in the music industry, and they would come into the stores and find out what was going on. You know, and a lot of them would end up being published in, you know, in the magazines. The magazine people like that, you know, articles about celebrities and people, you know, the general public would relate to, you know, in terms of, you know, these computers are going to be for everybody in every application out there. So, and these are examples of people that are getting involved in it. And, you know, obviously, as video developed, you know, you know, it was out of the personal computer industry where TV and you know, there were a lot of new startup companies that got involved in products. Kremimko actually was one of the manufacturers that started out early on in the hobby industry that developed industrial grade computers that were being used by the government and also industries, you know, serious industries, like I said, television and government. California was running the ramp controllers with Kremimko personal computers, the Z1, I think it was called, Z1, Z2. They were using the Zilog microprocessor chip in there, which was compatible to the Intel 8080. So it ran all the same software. And so Kremimko zeroed in on uh, the better of the processor chips. The higher performance one was the Zilog processor. So their line of industrial grade computers was that. It turned out in later years, Kremimko was actually very successful being able to export their Zilog, the Z Zilog computer, the Kremimko had to China, and of all places, you know, it was being sold over there, and obviously at some point replicated and so forth as China typically does. But they were the largest manufacturer for computers in China at one point there. So you know, and a lot of this, you know, was going on, of course, all before the IBM PC came out in the 80s, right? You know, so
Right.
we got, you know, 5, 6, 7 years of PCs that, you know,
With
were
lots of
basically
different
that's
brands, lots of different types, all different, all no real standards except maybe S100 bus kind of became a standard, and CPM, things like that. But
Yeah.
um, so tell us
Well,
about losing the Altair business. I understand that you talked with Ed Roberts directly when that happened.
when what happened?
When you lost the Altair business?
When I lost it?
Yeah, the Altair 8800. Um, you you lost your franchise, I guess, basically for selling Altair computers.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah, it goes back to the mentality of the people that were in the industry at the time. Okay, and Ed was Ed was a serious businessman, but he wasn't. He had his way of doing business, and he came from the Air Force and then started MITS, and he was in order business, and then he got into the manufacturing of computers and so forth. But he we were probably his biggest customer at one point, Byte shops, and he decided that he wanted to create his own chain of stores through independent people. He called them the computer store. And so he actually got Dick Heiser, who was the first computer store, Arrowhead Computers, on Los Angeles area, to open up a MITS Altair computer store in Santa Monica. And he was one of the early MITS stores out there. But a requirement for becoming or staying as a dealer for MITS was that you couldn't carry competing products. Ed was very upset when he found out that the Byte shop was carrying processor tech Technology's Sol computer, and of course the biggest competitor to the Altair was the MSI 8080 computer, which Bill Millard and Ed Faber were selling out of Northern California, and they had cloned actually a better designed Altair computer in terms of its power supply capability and what kind of things you could attach to it. But it was all S100 bus standard, which was the Altair standard. So we were selling more MSI computers than we were Altair computers. And of course, we'd be happy to sell more Altair computers if we could get them, but they were always slow in delivery, and MSI was right there in our neighborhood, so we could just go over to their shipping dock and pick up our products. And actually, if you had cash in hand, you could get MSI to give you other people's orders that they hadn't shipped out yet. Because the whole industry,
As long as you had the money, huh?
yeah, the whole industry was cash strapped, and so cash was king, and everybody wanted it, and so we took advantage of that with local suppliers. I had a few
Yeah.
friends later on that were a little upset with me about the fact that when you shipped cash on delivery with UPS, it still took two weeks to turn that check around and get into your hands so you could deposit in your bank. So cash on delivery really wasn't as good as cash in hand, and so we took advantage of that, and with a lot of our suppliers got better delivery.
So that really leads into the next question very nicely. Who were your main competitors at the time, and what was your strategy to compete and try to dominate that retail space?
Yeah, well, obviously, Bill Millard comes to mind, and Ed Faber. because of the MSI relationship. They saw how successful I was in the Byte shop operations, so they decided that MSI needed to have a computer retail operation company themselves, and so they started. They were located in Hayward, California, and so they went and opened up a store a block away from my Byte shop in Hayward, and they called it Computer Shack. And Ed Faber, who was the marketing manager for MSI, became the president of Computer Shack operation. And of course, as soon as the word got out about Computer Shack, the Tandy lawyers were there to visit and talk about their trademarks with Radio Shack, and so yeah, a week later they changed their name to Computer Land, and once again went to school on. Ed knew a lot about my operation and my stores and what was going on from our MSI relationship. So a lot of what we were doing went into the Computer Land program, and they became probably the major competitor for us. But and that was early on. When the IBM PC came out later, of course, you had Business Land was created with people in the industry and venture capital, and of course the Pacific, the Bell, the phone company operating, their monopoly, the Bell monopoly was broken up into what they called baby bells, and so you had Pacific Bell and different. I think there were 13 baby bells that were created out of that, and they all wanted to get into the computer business as well as the phone business that they were already in. So they became competitors later on, in computer retail. But in my day, it really, Computerland was the noticeable one that was out there. There were the independent stores that were there. I think you had mentioned Ray Burrell's operation in Ick of the Woods and so
The
forth.
data domain.
Not a lot of them were doing multiple stores though. There was a computer store back in Massachusetts, and they did a couple of different stores. But most people were pretty happy with the operation that they had, and quite honestly, were focused on literally selling products through their retail store, and not looking at a bigger picture of franchising and doing other things like we did with Byte. But and we were driven to doing the manufacturing and these other things, based on profitability and once again, as I said, the whole industry was cash strapped, and so trying to get financing was a big part of what would consume your time.